Hi, y'all. Welcome to Sacred Access, a space for the whimsically divine. Welcome back. I'm Chesten.
And I'm Christina. And today I want to talk about the simple phrase of you are enough. It's simple, but it's powerful that you are enough, because in this world, especially, it always tells us that we're not enough. We're always having to strive bigger, better, get these goals. You got to strive for this. And so you run into this hamster wheel. And I have done that for many years now. I didn't really realize it, but maybe my subconscious did, because I'm like, this is what I got to do. This is what I got to do to get to here. But where am I going? It's just, I came to this conclusion. Was missing out on the journey, like who we are as being enough. And it's really easy for us to forget who we are and what our actual purpose was. And today I want just to have that open discussion and embrace that of you are enough. And that's easy to say. Like, even for me, I've heard that said for my whole life, like, oh, you're enough. You're enough. I'm like, I tell myself I'm enough. I'm enough. I wasn't feeling it. So I went, and this just happened. I've been on this planet quite a few years, and it's just happened now. So in the past, like, so no rush, but for me, I wish I came to this conclusion a little bit sooner, but that's okay for me. I embraced that journey. I got to get to where I'm at, because now for me, I fully taken effect of what that actually feels like. And it started with me doing meditations, shamanic journeying. When I brought that in, that really amped it up. And then about a month ago, I took a somatic breathwork. Never did it in my entire life, but it was mind-blowing. And that opened up this space for me to actually connect with that you are enough. Like, I am enough. So defining enough, we're not saying that we don't want to grow or we don't want to change, because growth is always a part of life. And that's what I thought. Like, for me, I'm like, I need to show growth. I need to show this. I need to have my calendar booked up of checking everything off that I'm doing today to get to that goal at the end of the day, at the end of the week. And, for me, I lost that joy on almost everything I was doing, because I was in this hamster wheel of just getting in the way of myself.
Do you think it was coming from having to focus on completing the tasks? Like, do you feel like it was more that you were having to prove that you were enough?
And I'm glad you said that, because you know how I proved to myself that I was enough? Check marking that on my calendar each day. So do you see, like, that was almost facade. It was fake. It wasn't a real. It was like, yep, okay, see, I am enough. I'm doing all these things.
Do you think maybe it's not do you think we're more than check marks? Because I don't want that
100%.
because I don't want us to be like, oh, if you complete a task or something, that there shouldn't be pride in that or a celebration in that or being motivated by that, but that you're more than that checkbox.
Yes, absolutely.
You're more than the list. So it's like, it's in addition to that, not that it's not important to in its own way.
And that's going back to that. Growth is still an important thing, right? Because we're always growing, but don't be so hard on ourselves. Like, for me, of having to hit these super goals. What am I hitting them? You know what I mean? Not that I'm not going to hit them, but I was going towards them the wrong way.
Well, and it's almost like it seemed like you were almost phrasing like, who was it for? Who am I? Why am I going this fast? And who is it for to complete it at this speed or this rate? Or, like you said, not taking time to enjoy it or celebrate it or relish in it or have fun in other ways.
Yep. 100%. That's where I got caught up. And I think a lot of people can fall into that trap. I don't want to even say it's a trap. It's just a part of life that some may or may not go through, but I sure did. It stemmed from that root of not feeling that I was enough, for me personally. So that had less, I felt less valued, right? If does that make
Yeah, and it does. And like how so I guess that'd be the other part is like how would we define value, right? Or
Mhm.
what does that mean? Is the music picking up on the microphone? Okay. My neighbors are jamming out and I'm really struggling right now not to be like, like in my
Hey,
little bob and I'm like they are rocking it out there and it's really I
is it a
don't know
block
how
party?
to I am like little did you know that I was jamming out. Like I know I was like, like see you're enough. Like if you didn't feel like you were enough before,
Yeah.
the universe decided that there should be a jam party in your honor to remind you that you are enough.
Yes, funny. All right, so where do we leave off at?
Well, and we were last picking up. So we were talking about, or you were talking about like value. So that tying in that concept of being enough with value and
Yeah.
that you were doing these things to try to prove your value. Or would you put that also with like proving your worth?
For me personally, they were intertwined. You are enough and my self-worth, because many of us believe our values come from accomplishments. I was 100% on that. And I forgot that at my core, I was already enough. I was already enough at that space I was at. I put that upon myself to like, I need to get to this ring. I need to get to this ring. Cause you'll see like, I listen to other podcasts and like, here's what you need to do to get to this point, and here you to make $500,000. Blah, blah, blah. It puts us in that frame of like, oh my gosh, I need to get to there too. I need to do that. I need to be there.
Do you think that comes from that influence of like growing up and being in such a capitalistic society?
That might. It might. I think for me, it was, and I'm only basing it on like what felt for me. Could be feel for differently for anyone. I've just felt like my self-worth I had to achieve certain things to be worthy. So like doing the work of actually just connecting back and just doing whatever you do for healing practices. Like for me, when I took that somatic breath work, I'm like, oh my gosh, it was the most precious thing. And I forgot. I already came here day one as enough, day one. So it's like getting us to that point. And, you know, if anyone feels that is like, let's reel them in, reel them back to themselves and to know that you are enough.
Could you talk a little bit more about what somatic breath work is? Because I'm not very familiar with it.
Okay, I've only been there once, but somatic breath work is what we're doing is so we have emotions that we build up in our body and we don't release them. So in somatic breath work, what it does is it opens up these little doors throughout your whole body. It realigns, and I forget what she said, but I can add it in the description more precisely. These neurological pathways to actually connect us back to release that we kept in, that was holding us back, basically. So, like every time you go in to do a somatic breath work, you could do it for anything that you need, anything that you're wanting. Almost kind of like Reiki, Reiki will go where it needs to go. You can come in for this, but this is what you really needed. So it's like so it's like humans, they hold on to those things that are bothering us. We don't release them. So the somatic breath work, and it is intense. I did not ever realize or even think I could hold my breath for 2 or 3 minutes.
Oh,
But
so you
doing
hold
this,
your breath.
you do these deep breaths ins and out, in and out, in and out. She walks you
Oh,
through it, and then
yeah.
she has you take a deep breath in and hold. And what I felt like I was levitating at the end of the session, because it's like you feel tingly, because I don't know what's going on chemically within our body when we have so much air oxygen coming in and out so fast. But it was very tingly and I was at peace and I felt like I was lifting up. And she took us there 3 times and I kept feeling I was lifting up higher and higher. And it was just releasing and getting us to this space like you're just in this space of healing. So if you ever can, have anyone offering it around you, highly recommend it. Yeah.
That's so cool. And
Yeah.
because you talked about, so the three things that really helped you were this breath work, the shamanic journeying, and the meditation. So could you talk more about like the shamanic journeying or what your experience was with that?
For the shamanic journeying, and that's where it was so easy to get to the lower, the mid, and the higher levels, and just connecting myself in that space really connected me back to me more than it had. I don't know if I was just allowing that to happen more easily through that work. I was receiving that same message is you are enough exactly who you are at this moment. Don't forget that. Don't forget that you came here exactly enough.
So with the going back real quick, because I don't know much about shamanic journeying at all. So with the lower, middle, and higher planes, are you able to talk about that? Is it okay if you talk about it? I don't know what
Yeah.
the rules are for study,
Yeah.
but
Like
could you describe that, or what does that mean, or connect? Because is it that you would connect it with yourself at each level of it?
I've been connecting with myself in the shamanic journeying, like each level. So you have the lower levels, and this is where you go to, if you think groundedness, grounding. If we go to the lower level,
Oh,
here's where we're meeting spirit animals, animal guides, plants. It's pretty
okay.
amazing. Like I got to meet my animal guide. It was pretty cool. 2 of them. And then in the middle world, now, I am not a professional, like, I'm not a shaman, not even a practitioner, I'm just going through these journeys, but in the middle world, it's almost like, the world that we're on, but in a different space. Almost to me, it feels like this is how it should be, how it should feel, without the commotion of the
R-
world.
Like the ideal world, would you
Yeah.
say?
Yep.
Or like our goal of what the world should feel like for us, like our ideal of it.
Yeah, it's almost like it's kinda like how it was intended to be. If Yeah, how it was intended to be. That's just for me, my
That's
viewpoints
so
and
cool.
my journeying. And then the higher if you when you go to the higher levels, that's when you're meeting the angelic realm. You meet masters, loved ones, spirit guides. That's when you go up into that level.
So those that aren't on this earthly plane anymore, or maybe haven't ever been on this like plane of
Correct.
existence. Okay.
Yep.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it is. It's
Thank you
pretty
for
cool.
like when you're just like blah blah blah, like lower, middle, higher. I'm like, wait, wait, wait. I want to hear more about this. This sounds pretty cool. And so it sounds like each plane, it's like, what are you doing? You're enough. Like, yeah, you're
Mhm.
enough. You're enough as you are. Like the lower plane was saying it with your animal guide and spirit guide, the middle plane of the ideal world. It's like you're already enough. And then that higher plane. I mean, how cool is that? You had
Yeah.
everybody telling you you're enough.
I know, and I think I had so many people, I'm like, "Oh, light bulb moment. I feel it. I actually
Like
feel it for real."
it really supports that theory that we can never be told too much that we're enough or that
Yeah.
we're awesome. Like no one can be told that too many times. So
Mhm.
that's so cool that you had that. So between that and then you were talking about with the somatic breath work that you met your higher self.
Mhm.
S- So how would you define higher self? Because everybody's got their definition.
Yeah, so I met my higher self, and for me, it wasn't a question. It was almost annoying of like, "I know who you are." And what she did is she turned around and she was constantly smiling. And she's like, "Look all around you, you know, you're loved everywhere. You are enough, exactly who you are. Yeah, I don't know, did I ever tell you that?
No, I wanna hear more about this. Like,
Yeah,
what
do you wanna hear it
happened?
now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you now. So it's like I so in that somatic breath work, this is when I got to meet my higher self, and I walked out, and you can't make this stuff up, right? Isn't that what Denise says? You can't make this shit up.
You're
So I
right.
so I walk out and I'm overlooking and I see this lady. She's got long dark hair, long straight dark hair, and she's standing. She's standing on a rock, and in front of her is this woods, like mountains of trees, a tree line, and you can see skies everywhere. She just starts spinning and she just keeps smiling and she's in joy. She's in joy. And she just keeps spinning and then she goes down and there was a baby deer that came and she was smiling. She was constantly smiling. And she was, petting its head and then she got up and there was like and then she kept spinning and she was like, everything that you have, everything that you are, everything that you're going to be is exactly who you are right now. Don't underestimate yourself because you came here enough. If you ever feel like you're alone, she showed me to the right, there was a hawk. Always know that you're always loved. This is all we ever need. And then over here on to the left, she showed me there's this big eagle coming in. And then she started spinning and it was just the most amazing feeling. She basically came to me twice in this somatic breath work and in the shamanic journeying. So this is where it really opened up my mind to like, oh my gosh, I got it. I got it. And she's like, I don't know how to describe it, but she was basically saying, I am you and you are me. You came here to do this life right now. Right now, what you're doing is everything is enough. Don't always keep pushing yourself to think you're not enough because right now you are enough. And it was just really cool feeling like she was just really giving me permission to feel that I am enough in this space that I'm in. Yeah. It's like, do you ever wish like when you go through those processes, like you can have like a video in your brain so you can show other people how beautiful this was? It was the most beautiful, pristine thing I ever could feel. And like going back to what you were asking about, like, how'd you know that was your higher self? It's like, I felt that. And then she validated by like, I am you and you are me. This is what we came here to do this time. The work that
Well,
you're
and
doing right now. Go ahead.
well, I was gonna ask, so how do you define higher self? Like, what does, because I mean, we talk about it a lot, or it taught people in the energy world community and stuff like that talk about the higher self, but could you define for you what a higher self means or the higher self means?
For me, the higher self that is the person, the soul that goes through every single life. Like that is me. You know what I mean? I came down here to live this life now.
So
And
there's
I've always
that part on
felt,
the other side.
oh, what was that?
So they're that part on the other side that like we're part of them, but they are also larger than us and on this physical plane.
Yep. Yeah, like I feel like a connection, like it's always on the right side of my head. I'm always connected to my higher self. There's almost like this little squirrely thing that, I can always tap in at any time. So like for me to actually meet my higher self, and I think what made me be able to breathe and just release of the thing of like, constantly telling myself I'm not enough or absorbing those feelings is I'm doing exactly what I came here to do. That right now I am enough. I am enough.
Well, and what I like too is what it sounds like what her message was is that you've always been enough, right?
Yep.
And what I like about that, because I feel like one of the things is that for anybody who goes on that spiritual journey or whatever, it's like now I need to focus on my purpose. But I wonder how much sometimes when we do that, we're kind of losing the whole point of we're always enough. Like, we don't have to do more. That's the whole point. If we decide to have a purpose, like if we decide, okay, I am enough as I am, and I also want to help my community. I am enough as I am. And like you were saying, I still want to do also my checklist. I still also have these goals. Like, we can add that to our life. And maybe that's the thing, is that we're already, like you said, we're already whole, we're already complete, we're already enough here. And the things that we do are like bonuses.
Mhm.
They're like add-ons, but there's no like, I feel like it's almost like, I wonder how much of life is like a pass or fail. And just by existing, you already passed. And you
Yeah.
can do extra stuff as you, if you want, but it's not going to like increase your grade.
Mhm.
Well, I think people pass if also they're a decent human being and treat
Yeah.
others with basic human respect. I will say that. Like, that's my
That's a
personal belief. Like, treat people with
boundary that
basic human decency and, enjoying life. And how beautiful is it that that smiling, it sounds like, just it reminds me of like delight or ecstasy.
Mhm.
What I've heard before, and I just heard it this week too. So it's so interesting, or it's so cool how it all comes together with you talking about with your higher self, how she was smiling. And just, it sounds like this embodiment of delight and this
Mhm.
embodiment of like ecstasy. And I've heard before, and I couldn't tell you where I've heard it from, but that when we connect with delight and when we connect with joy and ecstasy and those like excitement, enthusiasm, that we are connecting with that aspect of the divine, that we're more embodying the lightness of divinity, I guess, like the lightheartedness of divinity. Cause I don't want to say we're not always connected. I do think we're always connected with it. I feel like the connection is easier, maybe. Like, it feels like it's easier to connect when we're ecstatic. Or maybe the way to phrase it is, it helps us connect so we can better create and maybe bring things into being. Like, so connecting with your higher self, like connecting with that delight, that ecstasy, do you feel like it's easier to connect with that stuff?
Yeah. So I feel it almost opened a door where a door was closed, you know? So like feeling that joy and that happiness, that was actually feeling what it was actually really supposed to feel like to be in this human body form this time around. That feeling of ecstasy, joy, of bliss is because we were connecting, actually simplifying it and going back to our wholeness of that we're already whole. We're already worthy. And I think that that joy and that probably correlates, that joy and that bliss is, for me, I lost my joy. I lost my joy because I kept putting pressure, kept putting things on me. If I don't achieve this, I lost my joy. So that opened me up to actually feel joy again, like for real joy. Not like, hey, yeah, that was great, but actually feel what it's like to, like, going back to what you were saying, is not like we're not going to always have goals or growth, like, because we will, right? It's the weight we put on it. You don't have to put 1,000-pound dumbbell on this one goal. It's your goal. Breathe and know you will get there, and don't put a timestamp or whatever. Just always know if you have that, it's not going anywhere. You're always walking towards it. Unless you change up your goals. You know, that's why I think going back to you are enough is kind of bringing in that joy, bringing in that bliss, acknowledging that, because without that, you'll always, I think for me, I don't know if I would ever feel like I I was enough. If I just kept chugging along and doing this and doing that, not actually like, Christina, what do you want to do? What do you want to do right now? Okay, nope, I don't have to do 2 hours of this class or this to get to here, to get to there. What do you want to do right now? You want to go for a walk? You want to go find some feathers? You go. Because that for me is more valuable, because that brought me joy. It's going to get me that quicker to wherever I want to go. And you know what? It is light as a feather.
I like what you said with it felt like a door got opened when you were experiencing that I like being enough, really embodying it. Cause I think that just further amplifies what you were saying is that we're already here. So it's almost like you got to discover a room, for example, because opening a door, like it's like there was this whole other part to this house that has always been there. You just didn't open that door. You just didn't see it. You
Yep.
didn't acknowledge it, but it's always been there. It's always been a fullness. And I
Yes.
guess it sounds like or how much too when it comes to not people not feeling enough. Like, we had talked about the being so goal driven, feeling like we have to accomplish so much. How much of that deals with more of that capitalism always being on the grind. You got to make like $500,000, whatever have you. Do you feel like it's also that comparison piece? Because you were mentioning we shouldn't put time constraints on ourselves. So do you feel like that comes from us comparing ourselves to others too much or
Mhm.
comparing ourselves unfairly to others?
And I think that has an opportunity to happen with wherever we want to go, that opportunity to try to compare ourselves to others. Like, I need to, you can go into any social medium and like, well, look how, look at where they're at. Well, how'd they do that? How long did it take them to do that? That could so easily fall into that trap. And it's just stopping and going back and realizing that we can all get there. We don't take that same route as that person did, or that person. And it's almost sometimes it goes back to that scarcity mindset of like, I got to get to here because, I need to get to this because that lack of scarcity sometimes if it's built into our ancestral patterns. Like for me, breaking it down over generations, I'm here breaking it down even more. I don't have a lot of scarcity mindset now. Like I feel like I can't take anything with me. I'm going to enjoy this, and whatever makes me have joy, that's what I'm going to do.
So, what's really interesting is because you mentioned the scarcity, right? And the
Mhm.
scarcity is all about not having enough. And there, like you mentioned, there are very real things that scarcity can happen. Like food scarcity is a thing, especially depending on where a person lives. Financial scarcity is a thing depending on the person's social economic status that they're in, and again, what area they live in and what jobs are available. So scarcity on Earth in the physical world with materials can be a very real thing. So, do you think maybe for the concept of us not feeling enough or people not feeling enough, that they are taking a very real physical situation, like a very real physical thing, like you said, from the ancestral aspect, even if we didn't deal with scarcity personally, our ancestors surely did at some point in time. Our relatives had like, I know that with my grandmother, like, I reuse aluminum foil and plastic bags. I learned that from my grandma because she
Mm.
was a child of the Great Depression. She watched her parents and how they would save things and because of that scarcity, right? So it's a very real thing. But
Mm.
do you think that sometimes we take that, again, very real, understandably physical thing, and then we end up applying it to things that don't have a material limit? Like love, for example. Like there's
Mhm.
no, like people can love so many things. Love isn't a physical thing, it's
Mhm.
immaterial. Or maybe like the concept of being enough, like as a person, like being a person is not, I mean, in a physical body, of course, but do you think maybe that we put that physical scarcity, again, that is real on the physical plane, and we try to apply it to these other parts, and maybe that's how we get um to feeling like we do?
I think so. I think it all intertwines. It's all connected because it's all like until we start breaking that down in the back of our head, we might not even know why we're doing it. Like why plastic bags and the foil, but what are these other things that we're doing that have been passed down for us? What we're doing emotionally, What are we doing
Well,
emotionally to ourselves? What are we doing emotionally to others?
and I wonder too, like that passing along, because there are times where there are only so many jobs available in that one field. And so there's that competition to get that one job position and how much that gets passed down
Mhm.
when, like, that sort of stuff. Like, that's not being that person, they are enough, they just didn't get the job. And why? It could be they didn't have connections, unfortunately, or it could
Mm.
be comparing credentials. It could be a lot of different reasons. But do you think sometimes too that it's again that real or it sounds like it's that real world life be life and type of thing. And then we turn around and are like, well, this is proof that I'm not enough. And
Mhm.
it's like we're taking a situation and putting in proper conclusions on ourselves, like
Yeah.
unfair conclusions, or
Yep.
or sometimes it gets passed along too, right? If a person in school, like I remember kids that if they didn't make an A, they would sob, like hysterically cry. And I'm like, I wish I made a B in that class.
Yeah.
But they didn't make an A, and they didn't, not just for some of them, it's not even that they didn't make an A, they didn't get 100.
Mhm.
And they would freak out about it. And I'm not trying to invalidate their experience, but it goes to show how much they were convinced that their grades tied to them being enough. And that was an external thing. That was whoever the adults were in their life convincing them. So do you think that some of this stuff of not feeling enough comes from that aspect of, and it's not about blaming, because I mean patterns happen without it, like you were saying, patterns happen without us realizing it. Like I
Mhm.
can tell you about the aluminum foil and the plastic bags, like reusing that stuff, but goodness knows there are other things that I do that I was completely unaware of that came as a result of that, or that my parents or grandparents passed down quirks and whatever that they were completely unaware of, and they didn't intentionally do it. Or it sounds like from your somatic breath work, from your shamanic journey, we hadn't even gotten into like what the meditation experience was for you, but it sounds like those things just kind of reinforce that it was this outside thing being taught, and you reconnecting with yourself and seeing, okay, I am actually enough, and letting go of those patterns, whether they were taught or inherited or societal expectations, societal pressures. It sounds like it's about letting go of those things.
Yeah. Yep, it is, letting go of those, and like what you said is reconnecting, because somewhere along the line, I broke the connection. I was like, "Snip, snip, 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 snip. Okay, I'm watching society. This is what I gotta do," or these subconscious internal patterns of, "This is what I need to do. I need to achieve, achieve, achieve." And that's all fine and dandy. You can do that, but the weight you put on it, the weight you put on yourself, always know you'll always get to where you wanna go if you wanna get there. You always will, one form or another. If you want to get to this space, and that was a space that your heart really wanted to go, without putting weight on yourself and holding you down and making it hard, it's almost like making you struggle harder to get to where you wanna go. But because of that internal mental weight you put on yourself to hold you back, and I think holding you back, going back to saying, disconnects you from that joy. If you had to walk through your life, that this is just me talking. If I had to walk through my life, would I wanna carry to get to where I wanna go, would I wanna carry a 10,000-pound duffel bag with me? Or do I wanna carry the lightedness of joy, of complete joy on my journey to get to that same place I'm gonna get to?
Well, and I would ask too, how much, because I like with expectations, like I think how much of it is the expectations and how much of it is our perceived consequences for not meeting those expectations, because expectations are like goals, right? I mean, that's
Mhm.
just kind of another way to say it. Like, or some expectations are reasonable, but like the expectation or the goal of, hey, I would like to, like this podcast, like, I would like to do a podcast. Like, we made that goal of, hey, we would like to do this, which is fair. But I think one of the reasons that even though, we still have to schedule, we come up with ideas, we bounce ideas off of each other, we bounce episodes and things like that. So we have expectations of each other. We have goals
Mhm,
for each other and ourselves. But if it doesn't work out, it's okay. And
mhm.
I feel like we both feel that way towards each other. If one week it's like, dude, it is not happening. Like, it is not, it ain't gonna happen. Like, we'd both be like, oh, that's cool. Like, I had to wait before I could start recording. And you were so gracious to be like, yeah, no, that's totally fine. Like, we can start at this time instead. So, how much do you think for some of this stuff? And I feel like for the not being enough, it kind of goes back to that theme of like when we're little, it's kind of like our community, the people around us kind of set up the scene or set the stage for what we think is going to happen if we don't meet those goals or expectations. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
people must shame us or look down on us or criticize us. Like, so how much of, like, again, the goals and expectations, like, how much of that weight do you think is the actual expectations that we have, and how much of it is fear or whatever have you of the reactions of other people if we don't reach that?
I'm gonna say it's 100% us. It's 100% us because we can't make a decision for someone else to feel a certain way.
Mm,
We're deciding it in our head, like, if I don't do this, they're gonna feel this way.
yeah.
Are they though?
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. But
So that's why
so
I would
it's,
say,
or maybe I would rephrase it of it's us putting on them. Like, it
mm,
is us weighing us down, but it's us weighing us down with our perception of what the consequences will be or what will happen if we don't reach that expectation and not the expectation itself. Does that make sense?
yeah, it does. Kinda like going back to what you're saying about not getting an A or 100%. Are we internalizing, "Who am I letting down?" Or is it, "Do I already know in my head I'm letting somebody down?"
I will say in defense of that person, they did get grounded. So,
Okay,
like,
okay.
I will say in their defense, it was, and I think that's what makes it so confusing or complicated,
Yeah.
or that, and maybe that's another point to have for this is that us giving ourselves grace when we
Mhm,
don't feel like we're enough or identifying it, because it may be that at this point in time, at this age, it is solely me and my thought process and my perceptions, but it got programmed due to some real consequence at some point, whether it was in my lifetime, whether it was in my parents' lifetime, my grandparents' lifetime, for my community, whether it was in recently or way back. So at some point there was a real world consequence, and that's what perpetuated that. But like you said, it's up to us to identify that and see, okay, at this point, is it just me putting on this perception of the fear of a punishment or the fear of this consequence, and it doesn't even exist anymore?
mhm.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does a lot, and I think that's where, like, I say this a lot, we get in the way of ourselves so much. We get we get in the way of ourselves so much, and that's going we can put that into so many different contexts, but we get in the way so much, kinda like what you're just saying about, "Hey, is that an ancestral pattern? Or is this something I need to prove, to achieve, to show?" That right there is, I don't need to prove to anybody. That's that breakdown point. I don't need to prove to anybody because me, myself, right here, I'm already enough. I'm already enough going through this motions of just getting that aha moment to know that stop it now. You got to remember you already are enough. I like that you're an overachiever. Don't let that hurt you mentally or physically or emotionally. You could go and achieve, but don't let it hurt you to where you don't have joy. you don't see the world, that you're not going for whatever your true calling is. We already know we all came with some reason, a calling, a thing, or whatever we want to do, whatever that was. We already came there. So just go with the flow, knowing that you're already enough. And if that's where your journey wants to go, know it in your heart. If that's where you want to go, you're going to get there as long as you stay connected to yourself. Once you start connecting yourself with outside influence, be it ancestral, be it social media, that's where we can be like, wait, what am I doing again? Who am I? Am I supposed to be following someone else? Or, oh, well, they got that. How'd they get there? I want to do that. But was that what you were here to do? That's when you pause, you meditate. Like that's what I did is I paused. I paused because I know I was continuously not getting in the way of myself because everything I've done, which I love everything that I do, but it was a big price I had to pay for that. Big price. And that was not having joy, not actually, even though I love everything that I do, I put too much weight on it, too much pressure on myself to get to where I need to go. I thought to get to the status or get to this area in life of what I want to do. But I'm like, right now, I'm like, oh my gosh, right now, who I am, what I'm doing, at the end of the day, I am enough. I am enough. And it was that simple. It was just like a blink.
Do you think, so going back to the times where you weren't experiencing joy, I mean, how cool would it be to do a meditation now or do a prayer now or something, thanking that
Mm,
past you for the sacrifices that you made? Of was it ideal? Looking back on it, no, but we don't know if you hadn't done what you had, if you would be where you are now. Like that
mm,
you can take a step back. Does that make sense? Like I feel
yeah.
like sometimes too, and that's what makes life so complex is that there are times where unfortunately things kind of aren't fun for a little bit. For us, looking back on those moments with gratitude for ourselves. And maybe when we're experiencing that moment of ecstasy and joy now, reflecting back on that other version of us and imagining that person. Like I wonder sometimes like when we're going through really hard moments or really hard times where we're just not having fun at all, and we have that moment during that time where we're suddenly like smiling at whatever, smiling at a flower, or just being like,
Mhm,
I actually feel pretty happy right now. Is it future us doing a meditation or expressing gratitude towards that past us for what we did? And even taking it a step further, like, could we do that for our ancestors? Or I think that'd be pretty cool for our ancestors being able to have that moment of gratitude. Like, I'm sorry that, you know, I'm sorry that for my ancestors, I went through the Great Depression and things like
mm,
that. And my gratitude for them. And the joy that I'm feeling now, like, thinking of them and hoping that in some way, at some moment, maybe at some point in their life, that they are feeling a little bit of joy,
mm.
that type of thing. What do you think?
Yeah, like I was just thinking like ancestors, like them seeing us now and them like, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. I ran so you could walk through this.
Well, it reminds me of that quote, and I'm gonna get it wrong. I think it may have been on Tumblr or something like that, but it was this person who wrote that they were living a comfortable life, having their cup of tea, and they envisioned their ancestors seeing them in their cozy house with their cozy blanket, sipping on their warm tea and being like, this is what we wanted.
Yeah.
This is what we wanted. And I know that if I'm ever lucky enough to have progeny, however, adopted, not, whatever have you, I know that I would want that for them. Like, I want that for my little cousins. I mean, I want that for my whole family as a whole, like my ancestors, my current family, my future family. I want it for my friends too, like all the people I love and care about. I want it for my community. But it's like, for the ones who feel like their ancestors would look down on them in shame for them living their current life, like, I couldn't imagine feeling that way unless someone was, again, not treating people with basic human decency. then I
Mhm.
may show up in a dream and be like, look,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have something to say about that. But if the person is treating people with basic human decency, with basic respect, they're overall just living life. I mean, I think it would be wonderful. They want to get a nice, like, weighted blanket and have this, like, nice foo-foo chair or whatever have you, and drink whatever beverage that brings them joy and being nice, warm, cozy, living a very peaceful life. I think that's beautiful. Like, I
Mhm.
hope that. Like, I hope that happens, you know? So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what our ancestors would want. They would come in and they see us be like, "That's exactly what I hope
well, and
for you to
any
have it easy."
ancestor yeah, any ancestor that doesn't, that just means that they need to go and have a conversation with the other ancestors and be told what's up. Like, no,
Yeah,
no, no. Stop letting like your whatever. So I feel like don't listen. If you have an ancestor that you feel like is poo-pooing on you, don't listen to them. If they're giving you a hard time for living a beautiful life, don't listen to that ancestor.
yeah. That makes me think of
Connect with another one.
yes, yes. I would hope that that ancestor wasn't coming through yet, and they were still
Right? I would
on I hope they're
the
still on
earthling.
that life review.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Hopefully,
like,
they're
all
still
right, I
on their
need
life review.
some guides need to show up. They need to watch their review again because
Yep.
that is
They're like,
inappropriate.
"Hit rewind."
And I say that for me too, because I'll think about stuff like, what if I'm that like, you know, relative that's like that? I would totally want like a spirit to come over, conk me on the head, drag me by the ear, and go back to the life review. If I am that like mean or bitter or whatever, like I do not need to be around my progeny
You're
or whatever
mhm.
espousing crap.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, yeah, for those who connect with their ancestors, if you're living your best life, again, treating people with basic human decency and all that stuff, and you feel like an ancestor is giving you crap, don't listen to them. And, like, call upon your spirit guides or other ancestors to be like, look, this one's gotta do their review again or need to put in time. I don't know where they need to go, but they don't need to be right here with that
Yeah.
BS.
Yep. They can quit communicating right now.
Right. Exactly.
What else? What else can we say about "You Are
I
Enough"?
don't know. What else would you like to share with it?
Just the simpleness of it, of this little phrasing and just actually sitting with it and absorbing it. For me, like, if I could go back and tell my past self right now, which she wouldn't listen. She would not listen. She would be like, "I'm just going. I'm just going because I need to get to here." She wouldn't give me space enough.
Well, do you think maybe too it's giving that grace of I think we do listen, it's just incrementally, and I think that
Mhm,
goes back to how much of life is it's not like a light switch. I mean, we'll have like you had your epiphanies with the somatic breath work and you had your epiphanies with the shamanic journey. But that's after how much time, like how much time and energy and effort have you put into this to get to that quote unquote light switch moment?
mhm.
And so much of it was a gradient. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I feel like we don't give enough credit to ourselves or to our past self that we were listening, we were embodying it to the capacity that we could at that time
Mhm,
with the tools that we had at that time. So it's like for anybody, whether they're starting this point, like very much starting and they don't quite believe that they are enough, whether they're in the middle of it, whether they've already feel like they fully embody it, it's awesome, like, wherever a person is at, and it ought to be celebrated because life is difficult. Life is
mhm,
difficult, messy, complicated, and imagine we just listed off, like, how much ancestral baggage, how much societal baggage, how much, like, personal, like, perceptions and stuff like that, just how much of that compiles on top of each other, along with living in the real world with, again, real world scarcity, where if a person doesn't have enough money, they don't have a home, they don't have food to eat. Like, those are real, very real issues. So, giving ourselves enough credit for, maybe it's a trickle at first. Maybe it's a little drop of feeling like we are enough, just a little bitty sip, little
It
bitty
is.
moment. And it
Until
builds up to this point.
Yep. Like every little dropper in this teacup until we get that full
Yes.
cup of tea.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've been doing awesome. Like, how cool is that? Like, even when, like, past you was grinding it out and was like, I ain't got time for that crap. Like, you were still, I feel like you were still taking in more than we recognize. And how cool
Yeah.
is that? Because you ended up
It
here,
is.
so you were taking stuff in, like, and
Yeah,
I
I
think that's
was.
the other part too. Yeah, like, if for any person that they've reached their goal, it proves, or even if they're halfway there, or even if they just started, like, it proves that some part of them, even at their quote unquote most not connected with that point in time, the one that was the most disconnected from it, there was some level of connection there. There was some level of wanting to believe it or wanting to embody it or wanting to grow. And that's why we're here now at this point, is because, and how awesome is that version of us? Like,
Mhm.
and the reason I say that, like, just taking that moment of when we feel like we're enough already, but we already feel that way, versus that version of us that did not feel like enough, like we were enough, but still tried to
Mhm.
take those steps
Yep.
and still made that effort. That is huge, because that's when we felt like it was not true, but
Mhm.
still putting in that effort of, I'm still going to try. I mean, I really don't feel like we give enough credit to ourselves when we're at our lowest points or at our beginner steps, when we don't even know if this is going to pay off, or we don't even know if this is going to actually do anything, or we don't even know if putting this time in is actually going to help us feel like we're enough. Like, we're just trying. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, that's so, how cool of past us to be like that, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Like,
It's like they
poor
kinda
past
knew
us.
we
Don't get
were
enough
where
credit.
we Yeah, yeah, and it's like giving ourselves grace. Like you brought up
Yeah.
grace, like giving ourselves grace. We
Yeah.
we we are the hardest on ourselves than anyone ever could be, really.
Mhm.
We have the potential
Yeah.
to. I like this. I wrote this comment down or this quote. This goes with like you are enough. Just a takeaway is worth isn't earned. It already exists within you. So that
Oh,
self-worth, it isn't earned, it already exists within you. When you take that
I
in,
like
you could just
that.
almost feel yourself lifting up.
Raising it up. I love that. Oh, thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Do we want to wrap this one up? Yeah, because I want to end it with something.
Well, do you want to end it with that quote?
Yeah, that worth isn't earned, it already exists within you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like I wrote another one down,
Okay.
growth, lack of worth, you can grow while already being enough. Like we can grow. Like I'm enough, but we can still
Yeah.
keep growing. Like
Yeah.
that is like I want that to be internalized, just let it absorb in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to close with a couple things I wrote down here. Just like throughout the week, if we get stuck into that not enough, to just pause, and when that doubt comes in, that comparison comes in, is just take a deep breath in and just say and acknowledge, remind yourself that you are already enough.
All right. So, thank y'all so much for tuning in to Sacred Access, a space for the whimsically divine.